Hey, this is Matt Singleton, and welcome to Bible Sack. Alright, today we are going to be responding to JaclynGlenn. The issue is dealing with the atheist versus the feminine atheist. Sorry, feminist atheist. Maybe should I do this? Feminist atheist. There we go. Anyhow, let me read a little scripture passage for today. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity, and holiness with sobriety. Now, may God bless the reading of His Word. This has been a big issue of contention socially between the secularists and the God-fearing. Now, I do want to point out a little something. Sometimes you have to take a text in context. And so when we look at this, it says, she shall be saved in childbearing. That is referring to the woman who is Eve. Okay, you see, Adam was first formed, then Eve. Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in transgression. Now, when we start talking about men and women, the feminist movement pushed the idea of equality. That a man equals a woman, and that a woman equals a man. This is the foundation for the modern gay movement. But you had to just have this idea of these are two, of the same things. So, basically, with that feminist idea, the modern day atheism movement is having a little bit of tension right now. And Jaclyn is playing the good cop and it's just trying to stop the feminist atheist from getting after the male atheist. The feminist atheists are claiming that the males are constantly being misogynistic and that, they can rape them. And they're arguing about this whole rape culture thing. This whole idea of getting a hookup when you get a girl a drizzunk and then you take her and have your way with her. That's so sad that they figured that out, right? Anyway. And, of course, Christianity is the enemy, and then feminism is the answer to that. So they think. But now, even the males who go along with it are the enemy. And so Jackie's defending her boys, and, it's like, hey, alright, you guys are going a little bit extreme. Don't be calling them this, that, and the other. You're only supposed to attack Christians. And, she even kind of goes in her video. It's just like, we're together when we fight religion. That's the whole point. The atheism, really, the atheist community is just the people against God. We've got to come together under hating the one who's ruling over the universe. It is the war on nature. It is going back to Satanism. I kind of go back to the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche. He did write a volume called Antichrist. And this is very important to kind of help us to understand things. That there is this, they've kind of taken the spirit of Satan. They've taken the spirit of, well, I'm just going to oppose the things that are of God. God had a natural order. The feminist atheists are worried about the men. They're suspicious about the men. They're suspicious about everything in the culture, and then they start going off. I don't know. I don't spend all my time at a university hanging out with atheist guys and girls and seeing who's getting raped. Okay? So, I am not going to respond to that much. They could be right, they could be wrong, it could be just, whoever, wherever you're at. Okay? But, do the feminist atheists have a right to be suspicious over the male atheist? Well, as I mentioned Nietzsche a little earlier, and Nietzsche, he kind of saw two types of people. Now, the Uberman, the super duper, more evolved type of guy, he was someone who, his thing was about the will to power, while the other people, who would actually be nice, well-behaved people, they'd be about a will to truth. And the will to truth is something that's needed, religion, it's needed so that other people don't go nuts. Alright? Because once you start to realize, hey, there is no God, so there is no judgment at the end, then we can do whatever we want, and then everybody goes crazy and kills everybody. So, you had to have people who were under a will to truth, but the real way to be is the will to power guy who can be a chameleon and lie to anybody he wants to, because who's going to stop him? So basically, here we are in this kind of Nietzsche reality, and if you're a woman and you view men as some sort of separate species, on one hand, that really is stupid. It makes no sense. Like, how are you going to survive? Okay, how is the race going to, grow on and move on, right? But on the other hand, if you are a woman, how can you really trust men? If men are so much different, they don't see things your way, and they are, for the most part, physically superior. You say, well, no, we can find somebody. I kind of think about this fight I heard about a couple years back. It was the pro wrestler Chyna, okay? She was this super female bodybuilder, and she could bench press 300 pounds. I can't even bench press 300 pounds. Got close. But anyway, so she's just a super woman bodybuilder, okay? Superior to the average man, you would say. And then she gets into a celebrity boxing match with Joey Buttafuoco. And Joey Buttafuoco was some mechanic in New York, and he got famous because the woman that he was cheating with shot his wife in the face. Okay, and they just made a living off of that. It's like, oh, it's tabloids, it's Joey Buttafuoco over here. That happened like in the early 90s, okay? It was also a good SNL skit, but not SNL. What was that? Living Color, yeah. And basically, Joey's probably in his 50s by the time he fights Chyna. He's not really got it all, and he's not a professional athlete, and he just beats the crap out of Chyna. So, Joey Buttafuoco over here! The thing is that the general truth is that men are going to be physically superior to women. You look at a lot of men are bigger and taller than women. Especially in America. American girl, you'd have some girls like 5'4", and then you get with this one guy who's 6'1" or 2", and it's just a massive difference very often. And so, basically, it's like, well, the girl could do some violence or whatever, but the guy, what happens if the guy wants to do violence? He can just go ram her skull through the wall if he ever felt the need, or snap her neck, or, poison her, or whatever. The thing is that men are capable of this, and they're always capable of that. And so if I was a woman and I'm thinking, okay, here's a guy who believes that I am equal, that I'm not special, I'm just equal, and basically, his needs can matter to him more than me, and, if he wants to, he can destroy me. Yeah, I'd say I'd get a little paranoid. And so here they are, and they're pushing a worldview of there are no real rules, you do whatever you want, and then when you start to make up rules, the rules are just, as long as you can fool them, right? Fool them into thinking there's a reality or a morality or whatever, okay? As long as they get it. So, what are these women going to do? Well, they're going to act like the mafia, and they're going to push this stuff and ram this stuff. So there's a couple videos on YouTube where they started showing feminist groups rallying against equal rights groups. People that were like men and women are equal, we want equal rights, everything's great, you know. And then the atheists are sitting there pulling on fire alarms like, yeah, you bigots, you're misogynists, you're this, you're that, da 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 da. You know, and then like some girls like, F you, F face, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, why are they doing that? Well, because they're trying to intimidate them, because they are actually intimidated. They want to browbeat their liberal men until they are the biggest wusses, or what's the other word for a wuss? Sissies. Yes, they sissify their men so that they will not get beaten and raped. You know, in the reality of atheism, that makes sense. It honestly does. And, you know, Jaclyn is just trying to kind of be the good cop and saying, but no, you guys, we need men, you know? I mean, you can have Rosie O'Donnell, you know, and her great gay relationship and everything, but they still have their, you know, male gun-armed bodyguards, okay? The reality is that, you know, if you don't have a man, you're probably going to end up hiring one, all right? And this is the little white lie about that. I kind of see that commonly in culture. It seems that women treat, when a woman says, I'm going to be on my own, they will have something to stand in the place of the man. Many times it's their job or their government. And so basically, you know, my industry is my man, so I have a relationship with my industry that way. And, you know, I'm faithful to my industry as I'm faithful to my man. Same thing, I'm faithful to the government as I'm faithful to my man. You see a lot of that in the culture today. But, you know, there's just a simple lie. There's a untruth. I mean, you look at who's the most powerful feminist icon today. I would say it would be between Oprah and Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton, I've seen pictures of her going out there, Secretary of State, and she's hanging out with the Muslim countries and the Muslims. And you know what she's doing? She's wearing a hijab. She's got all this stuff around her. What does that symbolically mean? It means that she's a slave, and it means she's submitted to Allah and every man around her. Okay? Now, I was just like, oh no, I'm just being with the culture. Ooh, I'm going to wreck myself. Yeah, that's what it is. You are a slave. You are nothing. That's great. You know, she's sitting here as like, oh, she's the most powerful force for the women. Really. In truth, in reality, the feminist movement is insecure because it has no security. It will not win in the end. You got half of humanity already kind of like alienated. And then the other half, you know, they might not want to be alone. And then you deal with these issues of like, you know, Jackie's trying to talk about getting, you know, the feminist and, you know, together with the other male atheist. But she's also saying, you know, let's get away from homophobia. Well, so what you got? You got women who are in some sort of experience in their life where they had some sort of bad experience with men. And, you know, legitimately bad. The men in their personal lives may have just destroyed them. Maybe it was a bad father or a bad boyfriend or whatever. But basically, they're in this situation. And so they're like, you know, they're talking, okay, hate men. Man's the enemy. And man is so much the enemy that they have to resort to their urges with women. And this is always a funny thing because it seems to me that pervert is a title that a woman is just free from. She can have any perversion she wants and just be, you know, maybe it's like, oh yeah, it's kinky or something. But I mean, there is no like, you nasty pervert, what are you doing? Instead, it's kind of like, well, I'm living my life, you know. Well, usually this is how the equation works. They've got an issue with men, and so they have to do something with their feelings. And so that's what they're resorting to. And I've, you know, in my private life, I've seen experiences, talked to people. I know, like, one girl, she had, like, a, you know, a lesbian bestie. And, you know, they're like, oh, yeah, she's my friend. Ain't no problem. Yeah, we're cool. And, you know, they're always there for me for anything. You know, it's just great. And then, like, you know, the girl's just like, okay, it's time for us to get together, what up? And then she's like, you know, no, I'm not like that, get away from me. And then the girl, like, hits her in the face, and then she, like, grabs I think she said it was like a cigarette maker or something, like, bashes her in the head until, like, she leaves the trailer. Or, like, another situation where there was, like, a young lesbian was confiding in me about her feelings for her partner and stuff, and was kind of saying that, you know, she didn't feel like she could measure up, you know, as far as like with what a man has. And basically, you know, her girlfriend had, you know, already slept with a guy, and so she was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm always going to be jealous about that. But while she was jealous about it, she ends up, like, sleeping with a dude after that. So, you know, it's like, there's a lot of these, like, crazy inconsistencies, and it's because it's not natural. And the thing is that why are you going to let them go on in this type of obsession and this kind of broken idea, running it through the ground, and then say, okay, that lifestyle's okay, but now the things that your lifestyle's built on, this inability to get with the opposite sex, now all of a sudden that's wrong. No, that's a foundation of where they got, okay? So, you know, when we start talking about this, you know, the feminist versus the atheist, this is the big problem. You know, are they going to see life as a woman, or are they going to see it as an atheist community? You know, why should there be an atheist community? I mean, really, I'd have enough trouble trying to figure out why the feminists are supposed to help you out. I mean, it's just like any other bigoted group. I mean, you know, if you say, oh, yeah, well, this is my group. You know, I think there's a movie, it's a dirty movie, but, you know, basically it had a really lot of good points about the situation. It was like American History X. It's like this white racist guy, and he's like, oh, yeah, I trust the white racist. And, well, then he ends up in jail. And the white racist kind of, you know, screw him over, so to speak. But basically, that's what this kind of really evolves into. It's just there is no trust, there is no family, there is no relationships, there is no we. It all just falls apart because there's no order. Because there can't be order. If there's no God, there's no order. And so what Jaclyn's wanting is she's wanting to put some sort of temporary order, and that's just a big scam. You know, it'd be one thing if she admitted to it, because she admitted to it, then she'd be right here. But the problem is that the atheist movement couldn't survive that way. So that's why they're just smashing into each other, is because they're ignoring the order that God put down. Christians, yeah, I mean, people who believe in God, it helps, but I mean, Christians specifically, we don't have that big of a deal. I mean, you have some people who may have been taught liberal teachings, and so they've got some big issue about women in ministry. But that's really about it. Because at the end of the day, as a man, I come from Adam, and I think about, you know, Adam's rib coming out of him, that the woman is the flesh of my flesh and the bone of my bone. And so I have a connection to her, but she is special. That's the big difference. You say, well, it's equality, equality. Well, no, equality is hypocrisy. Okay? You know, when we talk about pushing women at work, they need certain treatment, even at work. You know, a lot of them are now talking about, you know, getting certain leniencies about when they're pregnant, or leniencies when they are having their period, and all these things. Why? Because they're different. So they need to be treated special. And even though there's exceptions to the rule that, you know, obviously there are going to be women, there will always be, hey, I've got this talent in workforce in some way, shape, or form. You know, this is the lifestyle for me. That's great and everything. But the nature is for a woman to be the heart of the family and help the family move on and survive. And the father is not only supposed to be the head, but he's going to be the exterior. He's going to be, you know, guarding the outside of the house while she guards the inside of the house. He's going to be making sure that she has everything that she needs so that she could play that part. And we say Christ is the head of the church. The man is to be Christ. He's to do everything, to be the hero and the savior and stuff like that. And in a woman, yeah, did she submit? Yeah, but you see, here's the problem. Christianity means everybody submits. Everybody's a disciple. Everybody's humble. Humility is a good thing. See, with this whole ideology, we have to think, selfishness is good. No. Selfishness is stupid. Because it ruins your relationship with other people and it ruins your relationship with God. You got to stop being prideful and start being humble. And when you have humility, then all of a sudden you have more ability for God to bless you. When you're running into this, you're not going to have anything out of that. And that's really the key issue, is that, we're not made this way. It's not going to work. So either keep it, where it should be, and that's insanity, or get real and get with God.